Spin! Everyone wants more, so why not let your racket do some of the work for you? Stay tuned for my top 5 spin rackets. Here at PH Tennis, we have got you covered, a 360-degree view of tennis. So, hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss a thing on racket reviews, string reviews, and tennis coaching. Do it now. Whether creating massive topspin and driving your opponent out the back of the court, or using slice, getting under it, stopping that ball short, or keeping the ball low, spin plays a huge role in modern tennis. Now, spin rackets, as they're marketed by their companies, have a few things in common usually. They usually have a larger head, allowing for a more open string bed, so we're usually looking at 16-19. Notice I say usually because there are always exceptions. But the larger head, the wider string pattern allows those strings to move a lot more, meaning the strings grip onto the ball, creating more spin and creating your opponent damage as a result of that spin. So they have the larger head side, they tend to be a bit stiffer, and they're often designed through the frame to be able to whip through, cutting through the air. Some even have special little cuts out of them, aerodynamic shapes, so you can whip that racket through the air, creating maximum racket head speed and therefore maximum amounts of spin. Whether spin rackets actually give you a load more spin than, say, power rackets or control rackets is actually up for debate as far as I'm concerned. To me, the playstyle and the way that you strike the ball, the sensation you use when you're making contact with the ball, plays a far bigger role. But these rackets may aid. They won't create it for you. You have to do the work. And the decision to choose one is an interesting one. If you're someone who generates a lot of spin, that doesn't mean you should ignore spin rackets because you're generating enough as it is. Maybe just enhance that. If you're someone that doesn't seem to generate enough spin, I would suggest looking at how you play before you just pick up a spin racket and think, well, now I'm going to get spin. Obviously, it's not as simple as that, but these rackets will aid you. Ben chooses for fun, Josh chooses on basically whether he wins or not. I choose mine for the marginal gains. So, is this racket going to make me slightly better? Am I going to win more points? Am I going to get more balls in the court? Am I going to cause more damage to my opponent? So my selection process goes on that. What is going to work for me to get this racket doing what I want the ball to do more often than not? All about those marginal gains. Now, this might be a fool's errand. Really, it comes down to the play rather than the racket. But if you've got a chance to make a little improvement, why not try it? So today we're looking for rackets that create lots and lots of spin and create lots and lots of problems as a result. Here's my top 5. Usually we have honourable mentions at this point, and I don't. There's no honour here, and there are no mentions. However, you could essentially choose any of these rackets and say that, yes, they generate a lot of spin. I play with an E-zone, I feel like I get plenty of spin. You can get plenty of spin out of a head speed, you can get plenty of spin out of a blade. So the honourable mentions are really for all rackets. But we're going to focus on the spin ones. So, here we go. In at number 5. It is the first entry from my favourite brand. It is the Yonex YXVOR 98, and the 98 is important. So, as I said before, with the spin rackets, you usually get a larger head size. This is a 98 square inch frame. Not sure if you'd be able to work that out. It's called the YXVOR 98. Maybe you got there. So this is a smaller head size, and it's also the most flexible of my 5 choices. It is a beautiful racket. The ball pocketing from the YXVOR is absolutely fantastic. But the reason that this is only at number 5 and not all the way up at number 1 is because, to me, it's more of a control frame. Now, that 98 square inch head means you've got a smaller sweet spot, which means you're leaning more towards control already. And that flexibility down at 62 is low and is flexible and is less common in spin rackets. The more flexible rackets like the Blade and the Pure Strike, things like that, that are designed for control and precision, they tend to be more flexible, and this is closer to where it sits. However, you can still generate a fantastic amount of spin. With that ball pocketing, with that dwell time of the ball sits on the strings, you're able to rip up through the ball, create plenty of spin, cut under it and get loads out of it. A beautiful racket that I would choose in an overall rankings much higher, but in terms of spin, the YXVOR 98 in at number 5. In at number 4, we have the Wilson Shift Pro. So we've gone up an inch in head size. This is a 99 square inch head. And again, similar with the VCOR that was in at number 5, the 98, I think that the Pro, and I really like this racket and I prefer it to the lighter version, is hedges its bet slightly, which makes it fantastic, but drops it down the rankings in terms of spin. So this to me is like a Wilson Pro Staff spin. It's the same weight as a Pro Staff. It's quite stiff. It's moved up stiffness, but not massively stiff, around about 65, I think. You'll have to check me on that. I'll comment that I've got it wrong, but we'll see. But what this gives you is great precision and control with that spin. And you'll find this with most rackets. They offer two things: power and control, spin and control. And in this case, what you've got is all three ticked off from Wilson. Controllable power through massive spin. And it's not far off the description. It's promising a lot, but it's fantastic. You get a lot of control out of it. You're still getting plenty of spin. You've got a slightly different string pattern. You've got an 18-20, so a tighter string bed in the Pro. And again, that hedging bets things. That lends itself to more control, but still able to generate plenty of spin. More narrow beamed than you'd often find in a spin racket. Again, leaning towards that control, but in terms of creating spin, able to do it really well with that control, with that little bit of power. Pro Staff spin in at number 4. Onto the podium, and in at number 3 is the Head Extreme MP. Now, this was our top racket of 2023. And you might be saying, 2023, that's ages ago. Well, yes, it was ages ago. And that's why Head are bringing a new Extreme out very soon, and we're very excited. So the big improvement in the Extreme in this version, which is the one that's currently out, was the Auxetic, which is new to Head, and it gave for brilliant feel. Absolutely great response, great feel, great feedback through the hand, as well as massive spin. We are really excited about Auxetic 2.0 coming in July, and I'd imagine that this racket might be even higher in the rankings. I mean, not higher than number 1 in the overall rankings, because you can't go higher than that. But in terms of the spin rackets, I expect the next one to be even better, because we've loved the 2.0 in Head's latest releases that have got the new Auxetic in. So we're back to 100 square inch head, 1619, nice open pattern, stick a nice juicy, vibrant string in there, get loads and loads of spin out of it and cause havoc like Matteo Berrettini, or like Berrettini used to. He's struggling a bit now. That's my number 3. In at number 2, the silver medal goes back to Japan and Yonex, and it is the VCOR, and now it is the VCOR 100. So this racket is pretty sensational, and I dare you to pick this racket up and miss. I don't think you can miss using a VCOR 100. It's got great pocketing like the 98. You sacrifice a little bit of the control, but you get back some power. And because you've got that 1619 pattern in the 100 square inch head, you've got bigger gaps, more string movement, and therefore more spin. It's also more classically spinny in the sense that it is stiffer than the 98. So you move away from control and into a bit more power, and with it a bit more spin. This is a terrific racket, and is just so close to being number 1. I mentioned before some of the sort of like grooves and aerodynamic features that these spin rackets have. Well, here you can see it in all its glory. Imagine with these notches how much faster the racket travels through the air and how much more spin you could get. Imagine no more and just get one. Yonex VCOR 100, absolutely amazing. In at number 2. Maybe it should have been number 1. In at number 1. Drum roll. It is! The Babolat Aro, of course it is. Who creates more spin than Rafa? No one. What racket creates more spin than an Aro? None of them. And this version is the Aro 98. And you're saying, what? Not the Rafa Origin? Not the original 100? You said that 100 square inch is better. Well, perhaps. But to me, this is my favorite and therefore the best spin racket. We're at a 98 square inch head. Obviously, it's called the Aro 98. We're at a 1620 pattern, so we've got one extra cross in there, but we're still fairly open. And I think the reason that I like this one so much is that obviously because it's an Aro, it's got all that Aro modular deliciousness that's going to make your racket travel through the air with great speed. It's got special grommets to create extra spin. It is spin machine #1. But I like this racket so much because it ticks so many other boxes too. Its stiffness, it's stiffer than the others. It means you generate loads and loads of easy power. The weight, the smaller head means you get some control back. So with that spin, that you're creating massive spin as you would expect with an Aro, you're getting load of power and you're also getting back some control. The racket of choice for Carlos Alcaraz, and I believe, get at me in the comments, but it is actually the racket he uses. So how about that? The Aro 98 is a racket that, if I was not choosing my own, would be right up there with any racket that I would pick up and play. And if I was choosing a spin racket, this would be my #1 choice. You must get out and try it. It is absolutely fantastic. The Babolat Aro 98 is my #1 racket for spin. There you have it, my top spin rackets. Now, one of the things that I find when I pick up a spin racket is that I almost try and play with more spin. So it's difficult to know whether a racket gives you so much spin or whether I'm thinking, I've got the Aro, I'm going to play like Rafa. Up I go, banana shots around the net post, create loads of spin. However, these rackets, my top 5, are all fantastic, whether you create lots of spin already or whether you don't and you're looking to create. They are going to be fantastic rackets to play tennis with. As always, it's totally up to you, and you're not going to know until you really try them. So make sure you get on court, try them out, see what you like, see how you feel, and see if your game gets any better. Don't forget to subscribe, always follow, share, like, all that good stuff, so you never miss a thing from PH Tennis.